How you doing today, guys? Welcome back to another day of 7th grade math. This is Mr. Gomez, your favorite teacher in the whole world, and today we're gonna be talking about unit rates. So I'm gonna be working on this page. On the next video, I'm gonna be working on this page, and then my class is gonna be doing this page on their own. I might record a video about this one. I don't know. We'll see. But for today, this is the reteach section, and then we're gonna do some practice. So unit rates, why do we use unit rates? So basically, we have over here, it says a rate is a ratio that compares two different kinds of quantities or measurements. So a rate is a ratio that compares two different kinds of units or quantities or measurements, okay? So for example, we have a sample right here that says we have 3 aids for 24 students. So the ratio is going to be a form of a fraction, and you can actually see it in different ways. And we're going to learn about those ways later on in the year. So for example, we're going to have 3 aids for 24 students. So every 24 students, we need 3 teacher aids. So all we got to do that is write it like so. So we have 3 aids for 24 students. You just write it as a fraction. If you can see, we have different units. At one of the units on top, we have aids, and the unit on the bottom, we have the students. And then this is over here, very easy. 135 words in 3 minutes. So if we wanted to find the unit rate, we can do that. We can find how many words can you type in 1 minute by just dividing or simplifying that fraction until we get the bottom to be 1. And then the last one says 7 ads per 4 pages. And the ratio will be 7/4. 7 ads, 4 pages, different units. Now, we're going to do a couple of examples right here. We're going to say express its comparison as a ratio in a ratio, as a rate in a ratio form. So we have 70 students per 2 teachers. So all we got to do that is do 70 students over 2 teachers. 70 students, 2 teachers. However, if we look at the fractions, we have 70/2. And that's a fraction that we can simplify. So the unit rate for this one will be 35 students per 1 teacher. 35/1, that will be the unit rate. And then the next one is 3 books in 2 months. You read 3 books in 2 months. So 3 books in 2 months. The next one is going to be $54 if you work 4 hours. So $2 in 4 hours. So in this one, if you wanted to find how much you make per hour, all you have to do is divide 52 divided by 4. So we can simplify this. If we start dividing by 2, we have 26, and then we have 2. If you divide by 2, you get 13/1. So the rate will be $13 per 1 hour. And that will be the unit rate for this one. Now, and that's what we're going to do on the next sample. I kind of get a little bit ahead myself in there. So a unit rate, in a unit rate, now is different. Not the ratio. We're looking at a unit rate. The unit rate is the quantity. In the quantity in the denominator is 1. So that's kind of what I did over here and what I did over here. So I simplified until my denominator was 1. So for example, if we have this scenario, this is a daily word thing going on right there. So 300 miles in 6 hours. Kind of like you're going to drive 300 miles in 6 hours. So if you put on Google Maps, a city that is 300 miles away is going to estimate that you're going to get there in 6 hours. So a unit rate will be how fast will you have to drive to get there in 6 hours, something like that, or the miles per hour. So for example, the unit, you're just going to put in 300 miles on top over 6 hours. then both of them are divisibles by 6, so we're simplifying, and we get 50 miles per 1 hour. So you're driving 50 miles an hour. So this one, 270 square feet in 25 minutes. So maybe somebody's laying tile or painting a wall, whatever. They're painting the wall 275 square feet every 25 minutes. So how many feet can you fit in 1 minute? So same thing. We're going to divide by 25 in this case, because we can simplify by 25. And the answer will be 11 feet per minute. You're going to paint 11 square feet per minute. And the last one, that's it for that one. Now, we're going to do a couple of samples showing the unit rate. And these are going to be super simple because, remember, we're going to keep the units separate. In this case, number 4, we have 28 patients for 2 nurses. So we have 28 patients every 2 nurses. So how many patients does each nurse have? So in this one, I can divide both of them by 2. And I will get 14 patients for every nurse. And that will be my answer. 14 patients per nurse. And that will be your final answer. On the next one, we have 5 quarts every 2 pounds. So my units over here are going to be quarts and pounds. So I have 5 quarts, 2 pounds. Now I have to make the bottom to be 1. I have to make the bottom to be 1. And this one is kind of easy because if I divide by 2, what's half of 5? What is half of 5?
2.5.
2.5, very good. 2.5 quarts for every 1 pound. And there's the unit rate. 1 pound is 2.5 quarts on whatever they're trying to do right there. Any questions so far? All right, so now it gets a little more complicated when we have complex fractions. For example, we drive 50 or we ride 15 miles every half an hour. So now the unit right there, what it's saying right here, if we have less than 1. Can you see that? We only have half an hour, less than 1 hour. We have 30 minutes. But we want to know how many miles in 1 hour. This one is going to be pretty simple because half an hour is 30 minutes, right?
Yes.
So if you multiply times 2, you get a full hour. So if you multiply this times 2, you get 30 miles, right? But the way they're doing it over here, they're writing as fractions. So we have 15 miles every half hour. So again, this line right here represents a division. So we just do keep, change, flip, right? Keep, change, flip. We put a 1 under. So this becomes that. And then you flip this one and it becomes that. 15 times 2 is 30 and the bottom stay 1. So the answer will be 30 miles per hour. Very simple. Now it gets a little more complicated when both of them are fractions, right? So for example, a quarter of a cup every 2/3 of a minute. You want to know how many cups every minute. So we have 1/4 of a cup every 2/3 of a minute. So we're going to write them as a division of fractions. And we're going to do keep, change, flip. And that happened right here. So when we multiply straight across, we get 1 times 3 is 3. And 4 times 2 is 8. So the unit rate for this one will be 3/8 of a cup every 1 minute. All right, so we're going to do a couple of samples right here on the bottom using the same method to show the complex, right? So for example, we have 3 ounces for every 3/4 of a cup. Maybe they're making, I don't know, a cake or something right now. You're going to use 3 ounces of sugar for every 3/4 of a cup of flour, something like that. You know, the recipes call it something like that. So if you're gonna make a whole unit, let's say I don't have a 3/4 of a cup, so let me just get a few more ounces and make a full cup for the cake. So for example, we're gonna do the same thing. 3 divided by 3/4, right? What do you do to the 3 to make it a fraction? We put a 1 under, right? And then we can do keep, change, flip, or we can use multiply, crossed. Just like we did before, is the same thing. So 3 times 4 is 12. And 1 times 3 is 3. So we have 12/3. Is my bottom 1? No. It's not. So that I have a mixed number, I mean improper fraction. So I have to make it I have to simplify it. So can I go ahead and divide this by 3? Both of them are divisibles of 3, right? 12 divided by 3 gives me 4. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. So 4 ounces for every cup. And that's it. It's that easy. Now, the next one, we have 3 2/3 feet per 11/60 of an hour. Man, it just got a little more complicated. But again, we already talked about dividing mixed numbers and dividing fractions, right? Before on a previous video. I even either leave a link for you over here, or there's a playlist that you can find for rational numbers, and all those videos will be there. So the first thing to do over here is I'm going to convert that mixed number into an improper fraction. We multiply, then add, right? Texas. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11/3. Divided by 11/60. Now we're going to do keep, change, flip. We're going to change colors. So this will be 11/3. It's still the same. We're going to change this to multiply, or you can do this method right here that we just did. It's the same thing. But I just wanted to try the different thing. And then we're going to flip this. 60. And the bottom is going to be 11. So 11 times 60 is going to be what? 660, if I'm not mistaken. And the bottom is going to be 33. Right? So I got to make the bottom to be 1. How do I do that? If I divide both of them by 33, I'm going to get 20 at the top and 1 at the bottom. So that means I have the feet, 20 feet every hour. And that will be my final answer. So basically, just real quick, anytime we're talking about unit rates, and this is going to come out later on where we talk about constant of proportionality. Anytime you have a unit of time, whether it's seconds, minutes, years, days, months, whatever. Anytime you have a unit of time, that number is going to go on the bottom of the fraction. Most of the time when you have gallons, like price per gallon, you know, like gas, or is going to go on the bottom. But the units of time, they're always going to go on the bottom. So with this, I really hope that you learned something today. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so and turn the notification bell on. Other than that, that is going to be it for this one, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.